We're given f of x equals 5x minus 4, and we want to determine all these questions. So we want to answer the following. Determine the slope in the y-intercept. Okay, now this is actually already given to us in y equals mx plus b form. So in a previous section we've already talked about that. The first number would be your slope. The second number is your y-intercept. So m is the slope, that would just be 5, and your y-intercept is going to be the number after the x. So the y-intercept is going to equal negative 4. For part B, we want to do a graph. So for the graph, we want to first start with the y-intercept. The y-intercept is negative 4. So with this graph here, I'm going to first start by going down 4, and I'm going to make a dot right there. We're going to use the slope on the y-intercept to graph this one. So starting from the y-intercept, we need to go depending on the slope. Now the slope right here is 5 over 1. Top number is the up and down movement. The bottom number is left and right movement. This says that we have to go up 5 units. We're going to go up because it's positive. Because the bottom number is positive, we go 1 to the right. So up 5 over 1 gives us these 2 points. And we're going to connect these, and that right there is going to be our graph of f of x. For C, we want to find the average rate of change. Okay, now average rate of change we've talked about before in a previous section as well. Now average rate of change would be an average slope between 2 points. Now for a line like this one, the slope is always going to be constant. No matter what 2 points you look at all the way through, the slope is always going to be 5. So therefore, the average rate of change is always going to be 5. So part C is really just asking you what's the slope of this line. We already answered that already. It's going to be 5. For D, intervals of increasing, decreasing, and constant. Okay, now if I look at this graph, I notice that as I move from left to right, the graph is always going uphill as I move from left to right, which means that it's always going to be increasing. So if they want to know the interval for increasing, then this is going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity. It's always going to be increasing no matter where you are. As you go from left to right, the graph is always going uphill. Decreasing is going to be none. There's no interval for that. And constant, there's going to be none. So constant doesn't mean constantly going up. The constant means that you actually have a horizontal line somewhere on your graph, and we don't have that in this case. It's always going up as you move from left to right, so there's no intervals for each of these. Part E, it says find the x-intercept. We already found the y-intercept. That's down here. That's at negative 4. If you want to find the x-intercept, then what you do is you have to put in a 0 for the y, or in this case we'll put a 0 in for f of x. So I have 0 equals 5x minus 4, and I'm going to solve this one for x. So if I do that, negative 5x equals negative 4, divide both sides by negative 5, my answer is going to be 4/5. So that means that it crosses the x-axis at 4/5.